I thank the gentleman for the generous grant of time. So here we are trying to fill up space while America is in crisis. Now, why do I say that? One of the most important and ongoing obligations of the United States Congress is oversight. We don't need to pass a meaningless hortatory resolution to tell the committees to do oversight. I've observed a number of the Republican-led committees are already vigorously engaged in oversight. I held dozens of hearings in oversight of the bureaucracy and trying and programs when I chaired the Surface Transportation Subcommittee. That's something we have not done enough of, we should do more of, but spending 10 hours on the floor instead of a few hours marking up some bills that could create jobs in America is a waste of time and meaningless. Now, we need, we had two commissions that were named when the Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House in the Bush era. And both of those commissions, Republican-led, Republican-authorized commissions, came to the same conclusion. We are dramatically underinvesting in our nation's infrastructure. We are becoming third world. 150,000 bridges on the national highway system need substantial repair or replacement. 40% of the pavement on the national highway system, fair or poor, causing blowouts, axles broken, accidents. You know, it's a mess. Talk to anybody. $60 billion backlog on capital investment in our transit systems. And you know what? When we make these investments, there's a great thing about it. We have strict Buy America requirements. Buy America requirements I intended to make more strict, and I hope the Republicans will, now that they're in charge, when we reauthorize the Surface Transportation Bill. You get a phenomenal multiplier of jobs out of those investments. Instead of the stupid stimulus bill we passed, if we had taken 1/5 of the money that went into that stimulus bill and we had invested it in surface transportation in this country, we could have created another couple of million jobs a year. Because they aren't just jobs of people out there building the bridges and the highways and those sorts of things. They're the people who make the things that we use to build the bridges and the highway, the steel industry. They're the people who make the tires for the buses or the engines for the buses or the streetcars that we now make in Oregon again, made in America for the first time in 70 years. Huge multiplier effect. Inadequate. What they said is the amount of money we're currently investing won't even keep the Eisenhower-era system up. And now the Republicans are refusing to look at enhanced investment in transportation infrastructure, and we haven't even begun a discussion of authorizing that legislation. The Federal Aviation Administration. We're wasting billions of gallons of fuel and people's time in the air because we don't have an adequate aviation system in terms of air traffic control and the tools that our controllers need. They're focused on the controller. All those controllers, they just earn too much money. They're working with 1950s equipment. You can't get vacuum tubes anymore. Let's focus on the things people need to do the job more efficiently, to get our planes where they're going as safely as we do today, but more efficiently, and stop the congestion in the skies. Allow our airports to expand. Get the jobs out of construction. Let's talk about those things. Today, the Democrats introduced a bill, our first major bill, H.R. 11, to authorize more Buy America bonds. Now, this doesn't cost the federal government anything in the end. What we're trying to do is help the local jurisdictions, others who are strapped now, their bonding authority is either tapped out or they don't have good credit because of other problems, to do needed projects and give it to them at an interest rate they can afford. Yeah, there's a little subsidy there in the interest rate, but guess what? With the jobs we generate, we're going to get more than that back in the taxes. The best way we can deal with the deficit in this country is to put Americans back to work. 30 to 40% of our deficit could be dealt with if we had full employment and reasonable rates of taxation like in the Clinton era. But no, the Republicans want to sit here and pretend they really care about these things, and we're going to get rid of those job-killing regulations, and we'll start to do something new, oversight. Well, get to the oversight. You're already authorized to do oversight. Don't pretend you aren't, and don't pretend that this meaningless resolution is going to make any difference at all. Why are we wasting this time? Why are we wasting this time? Because you want to put on a show. Well, good for you. You're putting on a show. You're in charge. You can put on a show whenever you want. But someday you're going to come to account for it. And if you haven't delivered on the jobs, and you're not doing much so far that I've seen to produce any jobs, you can pretend this is about jobs. What this is really about is your day in, day out agenda, which is big business. This isn't about independent truck drivers just struggling to make a living. Could I have an additional 3 minutes?
I yield the gentleman additional 3 minutes.
Gentleman's recognized for 3 minutes.
This isn't about small independent businesses that go out and get contracts through the states with federal money to build highway projects and some of the paperwork they have to deal with. I'm all with you on that stuff. Let's streamline that stuff. Let's get rid of that junk. Just today, I had some people in my office who I have helped to get some money to reopen a rail line that was closed by some hedge fund in my district that bought it up. And they're being hung up on, getting a federal grant, which I helped them get, one of those horrible earmarks we get around here, to further enhance that short rail line by some paperwork at Fish and Wildlife. It just happened that the guy who's head of the regional guy from the feds for Fish and Wildlife was there in my office to talk to another staffer. I put them together. We solved the issue in a couple of minutes. But it shouldn't have happened. We can streamline the paperwork. We can do that in the transportation bill and deal with those sorts of things. So if you want to do real stuff to help real people, small business, Main Street, I'm with you. But if this is yet another ruse to either engage in some sort of political pursuit of the administration, or it's just something else to help your big business allies or something else to coddle Wall Street, get rid of those burdensome regulations on Wall Street. Why? They can regulate themselves. Look what a great job they did over the last 10 years regulating themselves. Well, they did crater the U.S. economy and the world economy and cost a few million people their jobs and people. Yeah, but hey, they would never do anything that would jeopardize our country. Those burdensome regulations on Wall Street, those burdensome regulations on BP. My God, how can we have those burdensome regulations on those big oil companies? Just free them up. They'll drill safely anywhere and everywhere, and there'll never be a problem. We had crappy regulation. Let's fix that. But we need regulations to avoid abuses. Don't pretend that we don't. That big business won't choose to abuse the privilege if we don't regulate them properly and smartly. You want to have an aviation industry further deregulated? Let's deregulate safety. Let's get rid of those troublesome inspectors and all that stuff that goes on. No one would ever fly a plane that isn't safe. They wouldn't ever engage in cutting corners. Oops, that has already happened a few times in history, isn't it? During the regulatory binge in the Reagan years. So you want to focus on meaningless, bothersome, trivial regulations, things that impede real working people, small businesses, truckers, other people who use our transportation system, general aviation pilots, airlines, great. But if it's just another hortatory thing, which it seems to be, or another gift to your big business allies, forget about it. With that, I yield back the balance.
Gentleman yields back his